Fox News alert the president going after Michael Cohen one day after his one-time attorney was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison after implicating the president in a hush money campaign scandal. Welcome back to America's Newsroom. I'm Sandra Smith.
I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning. Trump saying he never directed Cohen to break the law and that he did nothing wrong. Also saying that Cohen only agreed to plead guilty to embarrass him. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts picks up the story from the North Lawn there. And John, good morning to you.
Bill and Sandra, good morning to you. The president was unusually silent yesterday on the whole business of the sentencing of Michael Cohen, but he's making up for it today in a lengthy tweet unloading on Michael Cohen, saying, quote, "I never directed Michael Cohen to break the law. He was a lawyer and he is supposed to know the law. It's called advice of counsel, and a lawyer has great liability if a mistake is made. That is why they get paid." Despite that, many campaign finance lawyers have strongly stated that I did nothing wrong with respect to campaign finance laws, even if they apply, because this was not campaign finance. Cohen was guilty on many charges unrelated to me, but he pled to 2 campaign charges which were not criminal, and of which he probably was not guilty even on a civil basis. Those charges were just agreed to by him in order to embarrass the president and get a much reduced prison sentence, which he did, including the fact that his family was temporarily let off the hook. As a lawyer, Michael has great liability to me. What's unclear at this point is whether or not the president will, at some point down the road, because the Department of Justice right now is operating off of the principle that a sitting president could not be indicted, but sometime down the road, could he be liable for some sort of legal violation? That we don't know. We might hear more about this from the president today. Harris Faulkner is in the process of interviewing him this hour, and that will air on her show this afternoon at 1 o'clock. The president is also meeting with governors-elect this afternoon in the Roosevelt Room, so it's likely he'll be asked about it there as well. Bill?
All right. As we await on all that, John, there's news on the Mueller matter where General Flynn is concerned. What is new on that?
Yeah, and D.C. District Judge Emmett Sullivan, who was a Clinton appointee, originally appointed by Reagan back in the 1980s, is flipping the script on the Mueller investigation, demanding that the Office of the Special Counsel turn over all documents related to the questioning of Michael Flynn in early 2017 by 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. The extraordinary order came after Flynn's attorneys claimed that Flynn was pressured by the then Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe not to bring an attorney with him to an interview, and was never informed that any false statements he made during that interview could be subject to prosecution. Flynn's attorneys say investigators threatened to escalate the proceedings if Flynn sought the advice of counsel. At an MSNBC forum over the weekend, the former FBI Director James Comey said he broke with normal protocol in sending Peter Strzok and another agent to interview Flynn. Comey said he thought he could circumvent the usual process between the FBI and the White House because it was so early in the investigation. Listen to what he said.
The FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official. Would work through the White House counsel, and there'd be discussions and approvals and who would be there. And I thought, it's early enough, let's just send a couple guys over.
It's early enough in the investigation, let's just send a couple of guys over. Not clear what Judge Sullivan will do once he reviews the documents, but he does have a history of calling out prosecutorial abuse and, in fact, overturned a conviction against the late Alaska Senator Ted Stevens because of prosecutorial misconduct. Flynn is to be sentenced on Tuesday. Mueller is recommending no jail time for the former national security advisor, but unless Judge Sullivan intervenes here, Flynn will forever have that guilty plea hanging over his head. Bill?
John Roberts, more to come on all that. Sandra.